Get ready for the ride of a lifetime with your favorite DJ.
You are listening to the Mean Machine Radio Show on New Jersey, 88.6 FM WGAT.
You're listening to the best radio in town. Stay tuned.
Tune into the Mean Machine Radio Show in New Jersey for real talk with no BS. We're real people telling it like it is. Get the raw truth on all things in society, life, and culture. Join us for brutally honest guests, banter, and no-nonsense advice. The Mean Machine Radio Show, where life gets real.
Let's go.
Like this.
All right, as promised, here we go at 88.6 FM. We have our two guests, and here they are, as promised. On our left, or maybe it's your left, that's double K. That's Kim Kelley. On the right, Philip Drake, and they are from, like I said, unitingamericainc.org. Good morning, and a special how you doing from Jersey. How you doing, guys?
Good. How you doing?
I am. If I was doing any better, I'd be the same. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Where are we? So you guys are down. Well, you're East Coast like we are here. Now, Kim has been on the show before, but you haven't been, Phil. But I want to be able to introduce both of you simultaneously, obviously, to our audience here in the New York, New Jersey area on who you are and what are you doing here. So go ahead, Kim. We'll give you the floor first.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, Philip and I co-founded a nonprofit together. That's why we're here. We both come from different perspectives, and we bring a unique perspective to this mission. What we do is combat child trafficking. So we have a nonprofit that not only rescues children, we're also building a survivor center for the kids that we rescue. So I am actually a survivor of child trafficking. I was born and raised in an international religious cult. It was pretty terrible, and there were many forms of abuse, including trafficking. So I escaped that occult when I was 20 years old, and now I dedicate my life to not only end this and tell people the truth about what it is and what it is not, but also actually do something to actually help beyond just talking about it.
And I'm here because 5 minutes ago she told me I had to be.
And when Kim says something, you better snap to it, buddy. I got you. Yeah, she isn't playing around. You know, she's got the triple threat thing going. She's easy on the eyes, she's intelligent, but she's intense. That's what draws me to people like that. She's the triple one. You're just a snappy dresser with nice teeth, but you know what? It's all good. I like you guys, and it's well. Why don't you tell everybody what other than Kim telling you to, what do you do over there, Phil?
What do I do?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
So I am one of the co-founders of Uniting America Inc. We combat child sex trafficking. We do a lot of other things too. But I had a 15-year career as an independent contractor. I contracted with OIG, FBI, OIG USDA, and OIG CIA. So I seen a lot of stuff that wasn't good, and I seen that we never were going to accomplish anything doing it the way that I was doing it through the federal government. So I chose to resign and start an NGO, a non-government organization, to actually take care of the problem.
When you say the government wasn't taking care of it, what kind of a time frame? I mean, like what kind of time period? Like you gave it a lot of time. We're talking about years worth, I'm assuming, from what I've read, from what Kim and I had discussed, what I've heard you guys talk about when you're doing like the TikTok last night and the various social media platforms that you go on, which I think are great, by the way. I've been telling people about it on Instagram because it's important. But what exactly does that mean that the government wasn't doing anything? Is it like they don't make it like public knowledge, or you have to?
No, we were the traffickers.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay.
The largest drug cartel and child sex trafficking cartel is the United States government, and I was part of that. I'm not proud of it. I wasn't always who I am now. I used to be a pretty bad guy.
Yeah, me too. I still am, actually, but no, I'm just kidding. No, but look, in all seriousness, the fact that you've evolved and are using your powers for good rather than bad. Let's just put it like a metaphor like that, which is simple but true. And you should be, commended for that. You could have went any way with this and turned your back, wanted to distance yourself. fall into a bottle. A lot of people do those things, and it's not a slight against them, but everybody deals with things in a different way. You decided to be proactive to the max. You should be revered for stuff like that. I really mean that. You care. You actually give a shit. That's what I'm trying to get at here. You both do.
Well, you're right, but I pretty well did everything that you just said too to get to this point. Honestly, that's one thing you guys are going to find about me. I just tell you like it is. I mean, it just why not just be open and honest?
Yeah.
So explain to people what an independent contractor is, because not a lot of people understand.
Yeah. So an independent contractor is someone who contracts off the books with federal agencies, with the federal government, that does not have to uphold the constitutional obligations that the three-letter agencies are to uphold. Okay. Or they don't have to follow the law, basically what it is. So let's say, I'll just give you an example. Let's say the FBI. The FBI needs a search warrant to get into a certain place to get a certain piece of information, right? But they cannot get that warrant, because without that piece of information, the judge will not sign off onto that warrant. So they'll just have a contractor break into your house and steal the information and then bring it to them anonymously. And they're like, oh, it showed up somewhere. We didn't break any laws. So they contracted us to break the laws for them.
Okay.
That's the very short version of it.
Well, I mean, no, and I appreciate it. And like I said, as you're introducing yourself, so to speak, to our audience here and our listeners, not just in the New York, New Jersey area, but I mean, we're going to be all over the place, and then it'll go on YouTube for all time, which is a great thing, because it's like constantly, you need that kind of barrage on people to wake them up, because, some people are just kind of shuffling through life and everything. Oh yeah, that's terrible. And blah, 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 I'm on my way I have dinner reservations. Like, they're not really, either they're not taking it seriously, they know, but they don't want to know, or they're just ignorant to it, or plausible deniability, like we've talked about, blissful ignorance. Right. The fact that you can talk about it openly, you're fearless.
Yeah. Well, I mean, very few people actually speak from experience. So some people have read a lot of books about it or film documentaries about it, but very few people with actual lived experience and expertise can talk about it or are willing to talk about it. So for people to understand the truth, they have to understand that everything we're going to talk about today, not only is it lived experience, it's things that we can't unsee. A lot of these things we wish weren't true. A lot of these things we know are difficult to accept. In general, I don't think the public is really ready for the full truth, but our mission is not only to actually rescue children, like primarily we're doing the mission, right? We're not just here to talk about it, but in talking about it, we want people to understand what it really is. And it's difficult to accept, but they have been lied to about a lot of the things we're going to discuss today. So specific to child trafficking, that's obviously one of the worst forms of corruption and, in my opinion, evil. Now, there's a lot of different ways that this dark industry is facilitated by the federal government. So what we're unpacking is going to be different aspects of that. But in Philip Drake's experience, he has a 15-year career as an independent contractor for the federal government, working under 2 administrations.
Yeah, I worked directly under 2 administrations.
And you, you ever, that brings up the crops up another question I have real quick. Obviously, you're both here of your own volition, of your own free will, and you are doing, and not just trying to ratify this or get this, that you're trying to make a change. Like you said, that is evil. We're talking about kids. They haven't even made a decision what they're going to do with their lives, and you're like, these people are robbing them of their life, essentially. I mean, at a very young age, and it makes me very sad. It makes me angry. I can imagine how you guys feel. It's like a roller coaster for me, angry and saddened and hurt and upset and really pissed off, and that's why I, when I met you guys, I was like, I have to do, what can I do? If give a platform at just another medium, hundreds of thousands more people. Of course. I mean, it's not a hard sell at all. We all were children one time. This is not theory. That's gotta piss you off, not to exacerbate it, but the people, oh, it's hyperbole. Oh, it's once you mention the government, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. Like anything, they could use that kind of motion and that kind of energy to actually listen to what the hell you're both saying or showing. You have proof. I don't get that. That would be very frustrating, I guess is the word that I'm trying to say. Am I on the point on that, or?
Well, no, it is, and that's normally if you see me on any live on social media, I normally make it a couple hours, and then I just start cussing people out. But I mean, that's just the way it is. So a lot of what people think are conspiracy theories really are, but they were put out there intentionally to draw you away from the truth about the topic. There's a lot of stuff that we used to do. Okay, it was more than just gathering intel illegally and everything. I mean, I'm an expert in blackmail.
Oh, yes, it was my ex-wife, by the way. But go ahead, I'm listening.
Well, I mean, even now, I've done a bunch of videos and stuff, and they got me all over the place saying, "Oh yeah, I'll blackmail the shit out of somebody," because it's true, I will.
A little more
if
context.
it's for the right reason. If it's for the right reasons and to protect the
Phil,
children.
don't hold back. Say what you're really
Right.
saying.
So, well, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Give a little context.
But we have to understand whenever. Yeah, I probably should. Read my mind. Read my mind. So we have to understand that a lot. The reason why a lot of people think that certain topics are conspiracy theories, especially whenever you mention the government, is because they hired people like me to manipulate your mind, to manipulate society. So what you do, and the way that I explain it is this: people like to chase rabbits down rabbit holes. Right. So what you have to think about before you do that is who set out the rabbit and who dug the hole. Because more times than not, it was someone like me that would set out the rabbit, dig the hole, and then put some lie that looks like truth at the bottom of that hole, because they want you to find false evidence. And that was one of the many parts of my jobs. I'm not proud of any of this, but people need to know.
Yeah, in other words, you have the rabbit hole, and here's a little shiny object to get your attention, and that's it. All right, I get it. It's
correct.
You would think it's so, I don't know, it's like parochial way of thinking, but it actually really is. What you're saying is true. I mean, it's not. You're not saying, well, I wonder if. No, you've been in it. I mean, you're knee deep in this stuff. Metaphorically speaking, but physically too. I mean, you really are. I mean, you're in the trenches. You're not writing, and that's something I mentioned. I just wanted to interject real quick before we go to Kim. But I remember asking her, I'm like, well, these people that are doing the stats, it's 50 billion and this and that. Is that it? And they just like punch the clock and they go home and they just like leave it on their like, does anyone actually read this? Oh, we have time to do all these stats and go through all these numbers. So obviously they are aware if they're paying someone, whether it's the federal government or not, and they're paying someone to compile and statisticians and all, well, then that must be something viable. It's not made up. So if they are admitting that that's the case and we need to devote a person to do these stats, whether it's every quarter, every year, whatever it is, why the hell aren't they devoting, if not a branch of the part of the government, some kind of task force? I've heard you talk about this before, and that's my lead in for you because it's rhetorical. I already know what you're going to say, but I want everyone to hear it. To me, it doesn't make sense. Why do it there and then stop and then, okay, thank you. Like, what's your thoughts and feelings on that, Kim? I mean,
lots to say there, but I absolutely agree.
I know.
First of all,
I know I'm long-winded.
Lots to say. No, because you're absolutely correct. And here's something I encounter a lot because I do speak about this publicly weekly, and I'm a survivor of child trafficking. And here's the thing. There's a lot of people that have read all the right books and gotten some degree or done a documentary or researched the statistics that are highly qualified, who should be the ones screaming this information from the rooftop. Why am I here? Because I really shouldn't have to be. Because I don't see those people out here making a difference. Because when I was a child, along with about 25,000 other children who were in the same group as me being trafficked all around the world, there were people who made documentaries about that while we were still being trafficked in that
live group. Like and the people where they see stuff going on and they have a camera and
there's a lot of people these days who are willing to film the problem but who have no intent of solving the problem. So I understand the importance of gathering statistics for the sake of making it quantifiable and measurable. To your point, in order for what? In order for action to be taken. Once we know the problem, then we should handle it, especially if it's the sale and exploitation of humans we're talking about. Now, these people collecting statistics, what happens next? To your point, we have evidence according to the reported statistics, which are only based on the small amount of cases that are actually reported, by the way. The federal government has this data. We know that child sex trafficking, not even all the forms of human trafficking, we're specifically talking about child sex trafficking, generates at least $50 billion in the United States, probably more like 80 to 100 and something billion. No one knows.
Billion with a B. Billion.
Billion with a B. How many kids is that? Every single year on an annual basis. Now we know that. That's proof. You can look on different .gov websites. We know trafficking exists. Now, you've heard me say this before. It's a rhetorical question, and I hate it. But why doesn't our federal government have a dedicated agency to combat human trafficking? Why are they not even pretending to care or solve this problem? To our earlier discussion, a lot of these things, and unfortunately, like child trafficking, have been made to look like a conspiracy theory in order to distance people from the actual problem and the actual solution, the people who are actually at fault, as well as the people who, well, there's not enough of us, but I was going to say the people who are doing something about it, but as well as keep people from the solutions. Because the problem, like Drake said rather directly, is that our federal government is aiding and abetting child trafficking. Not only are they aware, they are the problem, or the main traffickers, as he said.
Yeah, and look, let me tell you this. There's a couple reasons why they're part of it. One is money, the other is power, and more than half of our elected officials like to stick their penises in underage people.
Okay. Yeah, that's I cringe when I even hear that. I can imagine what other people would think if they go and say, well, I can't believe that, or that's not true, or you know, something to that effect. That sounds crazy to me. I mean, it's hard
Right.
to hear, is what I'm saying. What's worse is that it's actually happening. You think it's difficult to
Right.
hear. I
Right.
don't even
And
know what to say on something like that.
right. And the irony is that there's actual evidence of that. So beyond what we know and can't unsee, and I understand that the public does not see and never will see the majority of what we do. Look at the example of the Epstein Island case. Everybody's familiar with that because it made the news for a hot second there and then kind of faded off. But we know for sure that government officials were not only there, but were guilty. A lot of this information has been suppressed for a very important reason that people are probably aware of by now, that it's intentional, that they keep this hidden because it would come back to them. Regardless of which president or political party or whatever it is, Philip worked under 2 administrations. Tell them about, was there a difference? Because we're not here to talk about politics. It's not about red versus blue. But for the people who think that one political party is somehow planning to do something about this and it's the other party's fault or whatever their case is, tell them about your experience. And by the way, he has evidence for all of this.
Okay. So you can back up everything that you're saying. Not that I don't believe it, but I'm sure there's going to be people that are skeptical. I'm sure you run into that every day. So please, I mean,
I can tell you research that I've ever done, both public research and from my professional job, my professional career, they have all, since the 80s that I know of, have partaken in this particular thing. That's every one of them. That's across party lines. And if I have to, I can go through and name names, but I think we can all figure out from the 80s until now who all the presidents were.
Yeah, and that's quite an indictment. And obviously, you have to have proof to make a statement like that. And I believe you because you're saying that you have the proof. But that's going to be difficult for a lot of people, A, because they don't want to believe it. And the other people don't believe it. And then there might be some that actually you're opening their eyes to something. I didn't know anything about that, honestly. But
well, even a lot of it. Okay, let's talk about the Epstein thing. I don't go into detail yet about the stuff that I have, but let's just talk about what's already been put out in public. One of the biggest conspiracies about Epstein is the Epstein list. There is no Epstein list. There's logs, there's information, but it never was compiled in just a list. That's why there has never been a list released. But all the logs have been released, and in all the logs, all the names are listed. But people say, yeah, my guy's on the log, but that doesn't mean he's on the list. See, that list was intentionally put out into society to manipulate society into thinking, okay, these high-powered people are on this log. Here's proof that they were at this place in New York, place in Florida, and place at the island, but he's not on the pedo list. He's not on the Epstein list. The list never existed. That was all just something put out there.
Really?
So there's a lot of stuff.
Everybody's talking about this huge list that everybody's talking about, and there's this, and there's paper, and they're showing that that's all made up. That doesn't exist.
The list itself, what they say the list is, yes, that is made up. But there are logs and there are evidence, and it has been out in public eye since 2011. But it got swept under the rug by the quote unquote conspiracy of the list. So instead of people looking into what really happened and looking into the evidence that was already put out into public,
right?
They're waiting on a non-existent list.
Which what that means to me is that there's some people on this list that don't want this. That's how I compute that. There's a reason why they don't want this thing to see the light of day. Am I wrong? I mean,
well, we can, if you would, we can't do it now, but if you would like, we can do another show to where we bring the log and show you that it's the actual real log that was stolen from Jeffrey Epstein. Don't ask no more than that. And go through every name on the list. Well, not list, but in the log.
So here's the thing. Right now, people can Google, on Google, Epstein Black Book. That Black Book was released, 2011?
I think it was 2011. It might have been 2015, but I think
it's been a while, right? It's been
a while.
8 years. Okay.
So to his point, in the media and the public, they're saying, release the client list. So this Black Book was a book or list of people who they did business with. Do we have evidence that every name on that list was necessarily correlated to this exact act? Not necessarily. But for example, explain the Black Book. It was Epstein's housekeeper, I believe, who released that Black Book and who allegedly it is the client list. And allegedly the housekeeper circled the names of the people who he knew were involved.
The
housekeeper did that. She initiated this. Okay. Didn't know that either. Huh. Amazing.
Look, let's just say it this way. The book was acquired. I'm not going to get into the story about how it was acquired because the book was acquired. Okay.
Okay. I got
Period.
You. Okay. So
whenever you go into the log, whenever you go into the book, however it is that you want to say it, it was the client book. It was the Black Book for the clients, right?
Right.
There are certain things written next to certain names and certain symbols, which is code for what that particular person likes. Now, only Jeffrey Epstein could decipher that code. Maybe the Maxwell lady, but chances are she's not going to do it because she'll end up committing suicide. So he is the only one that can decipher it 100%. But here's what I can tell you. In politics, all of your guys are on it multiple times.
So this is something that you might find like during a sting of like a brothel or something, and the cops or FBI or ATF or whatever, they find this kind of stuff. In essence, quote unquote, the Black Book. I mean, they don't call it anything else. That's really what it is. But these are the people. I'm not going to say theoretically because obviously you're saying it with conviction, so But these are the type of people that are we even surprised that nothing is getting done about the child trafficking and the fact that forget about, like I said earlier, not just a devoted wing, or if you want to call it that, or a division or anything. How about just a task force? I mean, it is federal, so it's not like they don't have the manpower. It's not like it's local PD or state or municipal. And we're talking about the federal government here. So if they're aware of it and they acknowledge it and they're doing stats on it, What is the problem? I'm still trying to wrap my head around. I mean, yeah, obviously there's corruption. I mean, what else could it be? But I'm trying. What the it would be that I can't give you this or give you that? That doesn't make any sense to me. What am I missing here? What are we missing? Other
Well,
than
what we're missing is this: we keep electing pedophiles, and if we keep electing pedophiles, if we keep electing these people, and I mean, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, I could care less. If we keep electing these people that partake in these things, whether it's for the money, for the power, or for the sex, we're going to continue having these problems.
So here's the thing.
Sounds
None
like
of
just
this
like
is
a lot of-
justifiable. The only thing that makes this make sense in order for us to tailor our strategy to be appropriately effective, the only thing people need to understand is that this is an intentional problem. It's not something we can tell the bad guys about and that they'll stop doing. It's something the bad guys, our federal government, is supporting and funding and protecting. So, for example, there's a lot of talk about, for example, people get hyped up on this Epstein list so that they're focused over here. They're not aware of or looking into the research and the evidence that exists on the internet. But also, who was the administration in power, in office during that whole Epstein case? Okay, that administration had the power and the authority to bring justice in that situation, correct? And why has justice not been brought? If their opponent was the only one to blame, don't you think they would have used that to their advantage? So the fact that there has not been justice or appropriate action should tell the people a lot about the intentionality behind this whole criminal enterprise. It's not red versus blue. It's not this guy against that guy. It's them, the corrupt elected leaders, whatever you want to call them, against we the people. And this enterprise of destroying children's innocence is very profitable for them. And it also allows them a lot of power, because once they have that evidence or blackmail against politicians or world leaders, etc., they have a lot more power. People need to really understand it's intentional, it's for money and power, and the federal government is not only involved but responsible. Therefore, it's up to us to do something about it.
Hey, Mr. Mean Machine, I would like to. I know you're the interviewer, but I would like to ask her a question.
Oh, by all means, man. We're all on the clock. Go for it, Phil.
Well, sometimes I have to ask questions because there's certain things that I can't speak of legally.
I would ask her too. I have a bunch of questions for her, and not just about this. I mean, just because she's a lot smarter than I am. But please, go ahead.
Go ahead. Speak for yourself. So,
I am. You think I'd speak for you? Come on, go ahead.
Kim, do you know the contractor that was hired to cover up the information that was left behind by the FBI whenever it pertains to Jeffrey Epstein?
I do know him. I have met him personally. We've had a lot of discussions about it.
Is there evidence there?
There's a lot of evidence, and there was intentionally a lot of evidence that was taken before the media bust. I worded that like that because I think that's pretty accurate. There was a lot of theatrics that was shown to the public. This whole case of the Jeffrey Epstein case, as one of way too many examples, was known and covered up for decades before this media bust happened that got everybody distracted with a new shiny toy. Was it real? Yes. Were kids harmed? Yes. Was there corruption? Yes. What's happened? By the way, what happened to all that money? Where's the investigation? It's theatrics, and people need to realize that. They are being distracted on purpose.
It just seems to me, and probably not just me, just because I'm sitting here at this trio that we have between you, Phil, and myself, but for the people listening and the people watching, they must think, well, how are you going to tackle something like that if you have the federal government, which in essence you're saying is the human, forget about the traffickers for a second. They're just kind of, the way that I grew up, I know that whenever there's something like this on that kind of scale, absolutely positively has something to do with money. It's always money. Follow the money and you will find the problem. That's not just with this, with just about anything. But when you're dealing with the federal government, how are you going to take on a juggernaut like that? You have to not only stop the traffickers, help the children, help them to readjust for the ones that you can save, and then you've got I don't know if you want to call them Big Brother. Now you have to deal with that as well. It's not even just the traffickers and how dangerous that could be, and the repercussions, and the this and the that, and you're digging into their money. That's like cartel style stuff. And then you have the people in your own backyard, domestically, that are trying to throw. It's like running in quicksand. You're getting it on all ends. It seems like, and in the very end, in my opinion, who's suffering? The children are.
Well,
At the very
well,
end of the day, it's them, and that sucks. It
so
just
I used
does.
to be a player in their game, and a very good one, right? So I know the game. I know the game as well as they do. So what we have to do is we have to beat them at their own game, but we have to bring them to our field. We can't play them on their home field. And how do we do that? We do that with information.
Okay.
That's how we do it, with the information I have, with the things that I know, with the things that I've done. And let's refer back to my earlier comment. I'll blackmail the shit out of them.
And that's a ballsy thing to say, meaning that you're one or a few, and we're talking about the U.S. government here. If you're on their radar, which I'm sure that you and Kim and people like that already are, how are you going to deal with that? You don't the manpower that they have, because they don't have anything dedicated to help with this problem. But you better damn be straight that that they can have something that'll try to shut you up and gag you on like a
Dude,
gaggle. You know this.
They ain't shit.
Okay. But they have the numbers. That's
It
what I'm
does
talking
We
about.
have the
well,
numbers.
we got the numbers.
We the
There's
people.
362 million of us. They consist of 1%.
But you have
We
to
have
change
the
the hearts
numbers.
and minds of these 362 million, because they need to be aware. That's what we're doing here today.
That's what we're doing. That's what we got
yeah.
you for, Mr. Machine.
I mean, I'm just, what do I know? I'm just a terrestrial DJ on style radio, but everybody that knows or is now aware of it and the severity of it after the show ends, and then when they watch it going forward on your mediums, on mine, whatever it is, that's a win. It's a small one, but it is a
Yeah, it
win,
is.
because the day started without those people, and it's going to end with them in some way, shape, or form. I would think you want to take the little victories along the way.
For sure.
I mean, that to me, that's something. Your head hits the pillow tonight saying that you did something. Maybe just one kid or one trafficker was deferred from it. That's one more than you had this morning. I know that sounds so minuscule, but in my mind, it's like a snowball that you're trying to push up a hill, not even down a hill.
Yeah.
An
Absolutely.
opposite domino effect. And I commend you for it, because this is difficult, heart-wrenching stuff. I mean, they don't have to be your children to care. I mean, Kim, my God, went through this. She's not talking hypothetically. And you are trying to rescue it. And you've been on the other side, the ugly side that nobody wants to talk about, Phil. So you're coming at it from like Tifford. I can't think of two better people that are more qualified to address this topic. I mean, so I'm just I'm just sitting here brokering a conversation between you and our audience. But what you guys are saying has merit. It has weight.
Absolutely.
And it
We
needs to have
appreciate you
more
for
weight.
that.
Of
Absolutely.
course, please.
Now,
I mean,
earlier,
I'm an American. I care about America. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Doesn't matter what side of the aisle and this and that and all that. No, I don't care about any of that crap. It's about human beings, little kids. So if this little kid was born into something that, he was a Democrat, but his parents were, so we don't care about. That's not what you guys are doing. It has nothing to do with
Oh,
that or this. Absolutely not. They're children. They
it's
haven't
so
even
much
made up
bigger
their
than race
minds.
or religion or any other
Right.
human construct that we have. Earlier, you were talking about, but the government's so big, how can we make a difference? The thing is that they are supposed to work for us. So not only do we
That's right.
outnumber them, we have a responsibility to manage them. It also means that when people blame the government for things, that would be like a CEO or the owner of a company blaming their employees because, oh no, these guys are tanking the company, these guys are terrible, and just blaming them instead of actually managing them. I know that's a different way of thinking
No,
about
that's
it,
a good point. No, that's within line. No, that's pretty good actually. I understand that. You're
right?
not wrong.
yeah. And look, it's going to take some time. I say this all the time. The lies that we believe were fed to us a spoonful at a time. And we're
Yeah,
going to have, and it took a
it's
period of
bullshit.
time.
I can't,
It took a long time for people to digest these lies and start believing them. And the truth is the same way. It's got to be a spoonful at a time, because whenever you come at people with all the truth all at once, you just want to shut down. I mean,
Yeah, they
I
can't
can tell
handle it,
you.
all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes I get frustrated, and people will start jawing, they'll start running their mouth, and I'll start talking about certain things in the ops that we run now, where we rescue the children, and the state we find these children in, and it needs to be said. The people need to hear it, but it's very, 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 very hard to hear. When you go in, when we run these operations, you go in, and we don't go after what we call the gutter pedophiles. We go after the traffickers. We go after the big, to kill a snake,
you
cut off his head.
Yeah,
So
you
we
cut
go
it off
straight
at
to
the
the head.
knees. You're not going to go after the drug users. You go after the drug dealers. Right.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Manufacturers.
So you go into
Well,
these
that's it, yeah.
places, and there could be 100, 110, 115 kids, sometimes even more. And you've got them from the ages of 2 to 10, 11, 12, 13. I mean, we're talking toddlers and sometimes younger than that. And you go into these places, and there's a limited amount. My team it's small. We go into these places. Well, we have to take care of the traffickers. The children are terrified of everybody. Then you got to go through the children. You never know if other traffickers or the traffickers' employees will come after you. So you got to be quick. And you find this little 1.5, 2-year-old baby, and when you pick that child up, if it's a boy, a lot of times they will have a prolapsed anus, which is where their intestines have come out their anus because of the penises that have been run through them. And when you find these little baby girls, they will have a prolapsed vagina where their womb is literally hanging out of them. So not only are you trying to hold these children together while running an op and keeping the other children calm while trying to get out alive, that is the reality of this. That is what we do. And then when I speak publicly, I'll have people get mad at me because I'm passionate about it. Because I don't want to hear any nonsense from people. I don't want to hear you say, well, it's a conspiracy. I know what I've seen. I know what we do. I don't want to hear, well, it can't be true. It can't be that bad. I don't want to hear any of that. I don't want to hear, well, we can't do anything about it. And one thing I definitely don't want to ever hear is a fake survivor, someone that's faking their story. So we run into that a lot whenever we're live and whenever we're talking to these people. And I have zero tolerance for that. So sometimes I'll go off on them. Not sometimes, all the time. But people have to understand this is it. This is innocent children. I don't care if they're black, white, brown. I don't care what religion they belong to. I don't care. I don't even care if they're Americans or not. I could care less. They're children. They're innocent.
Right.
And we are allowing this to happen. We the people are allowing this to happen, which means if you do not get involved in protecting these children, you are part of the problem.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, doing nothing, that's like saying omitting something is not lying. No, that's lying too, it's just the optics on it. But obviously you're very passionate about it. And I feel your anger, your pain, your sorrow. I mean, and you've got Kim sitting next to you and just like, you can't even refute any of this stuff because it's true. And what you just said, a little bit prior to that about the kids and the physical part of it that I don't want to mention again, but how in the hell, what galaxy, forget about this country, what galaxy is that okay? Look, I get paid to talk. I'm speechless right now. Just hearing that, it makes me want to vomit. I don't even know what else to say. I mean, really, I know you're telling you the truth. It's tough to hear. And once again, this is the show where you're able to not just be seen, but be heard. It's the difficult subjects, the people that cringe. I mean, that's cringeworthy. But goddamn it, you have to get that out there because you cannot fix a problem until people admit and accept that there is a problem. You can't just throw money at it, or you can't just do that. I mean, yeah, donations and everything, they got to understand what the hell's going on. That could be their kid. I mean, we were all children at one time. That could have been any one of us, because this isn't something that just happened the last decade. This has been going on for, how long has it been going on, Kim? At least 40 years, maybe longer.
Oh, since the beginning of the time. I mean, the sale and exploitation of humans has been going around. There's been different forms of slavery and bad things happening to humans. Yeah. But in terms of our government's involvement with this particular enterprise, I mean, that'd be a hard thing to trace back, because
it peaked,
makes me sick.
It peaked during the Reagan administration. It was turned basically into an American-owned business run by the government under that administration.
I mean, I just want to know. It's rhetorical. You're not going to be able to answer this. I'm sure I don't have enough censor buttons to say what I really want to say, but I just, once again, I renew my objection. Where the hell, when is this, something like that, okay?
Well, it's never okay.
It doesn't matter if Americans, not Americans, they're children. So they speak a different language. That means the hell with them. We're not going to care. And here's another disturbing thing that I remember when Kim and I spoke, and I know that you weighed in on this as well, Phil. The fact that you're going around and you're talking with these different survivors. And by the way, that would piss me off too. Who the hell would pose with all the real survivors that are out there and the trauma that, who the hell would pose? What, do you need attention that bad? Get your head checked if you need to, like, make fun of somebody, or to be go be someone else, be a magician then, but don't. I know I'd go off on them too. I don't blame you, but the fact that you saved a lot of these children, you have the housing that you built, and we're going to bring up the website in a second here, and then they're not really safe, being poached out the back door. I told Kim already several times on the phone, on video, on the air, and I still, the fact that you can't go and exhale. No, you still got to have eyes behind in the back of your head that they're still not safe. I'm surprised that these kids even let an adult anywhere near them after that. I don't blame them. How in the hell do you deal with that when you think they're safe and then they're not? That's really, I don't want to say it, but it starts with an F and ends in a D. Yeah, it's up. I can't even imagine that feeling. Like, I want to go there right now and sit there with a shotgun in the backyard. I'd be like, come on, or come on over and try to take one of these kids. That's how angry I get about stuff like that. And I don't know these kids. It doesn't matter. I'm an American. I'm a human being. Forget about American for a minute. I'm a human being. You got me all fired up now.
Well, here's another thing too that we have to realize with everything that I just said. Okay.
Yeah, no.
When we do rescue the children, now here's what's effed up. I don't have a little beeper, so I can't say it. But here's what's,
you could be like, what the? I got you.
Okay.
I said,
here's what. Are you ready? Here's what's fucked up. See, you didn't hit the beeper. Here's what's
we're on a delay now. Everyone knows, but go ahead.
Okay.
All right, this is called live for a reason, there, Phil. You're gonna need to know this come like November. Anyway, go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay. So here's what's effed up.
Good boy.
When we do rescue these children, if we do not have a place to put these children, they will go into CPS. If they go into CPS, more times than not, they are resold and we are rescuing these children again.
Right. A second time. They're going through the trauma a second time. And sometimes it's more than that, right? I mean.
Correct. Well, the reason that we're putting our own time and money into building a survivor center for these kids that we rescue is because we wish there was a safe place to put them, and that should exist, but it doesn't.
Right.
So CPS, the foster care system, there's a lot of these situations that are not safe for children. We're talking about government processing centers and institutions and these halfway homes, foster care homes, etc. There's a lot of instances where a child suffers worse abuse in those situations than they were where they were rescued from.
You got to be kidding me.
Oh, absolutely.
So they're away from the traffickers, and now the pedophiles have a hold. I can't.
Now our government has a hold of them, and things are worse. They're resold. Like, a lot of bad things happen. That's just the shortest version I can say that in. The reason we're putting our own time and money into building this survivor center is because we need a safe place to put the kids. So to your point, once we rescue them, they are still a quote product to their traffickers. Their traffickers will try to come find them. They are not safe in society. Unfortunately, we can't just, even if there was like the perfect vetted family that we could reunite them with, or be fostered by, they're not safe in public schools. They can't just have a normal life yet.
Yeah, you said product. I'm sorry to interrupt. You said
Absolutely.
product, not seen as a child, as a human being, as a little kid, a product. In other words, with a dollar sign on your back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
God damn.
So this facility is not only, most importantly, for the sake of physical protection, that means on-site security and high-level tech and nobody unauthorized comes in or out and all of that, but it's also a place where they can find another thing that doesn't exist out there, which is trauma-informed therapy or care. What that means is that first of all, this is a survivor-led and founded and operated project. So there are very few people who really understand what's helpful and what's not when it comes to a child trafficking survivor. That blueprint doesn't exist, and it's also something we're building. But in this center, it's a regenerative farm, and that means we have beautiful acreage where, again, the perimeter is very secured, but these kids have the ability to connect with nature and roam around freely where they don't feel like they're in a prison or an institution, but they are protected. But they also have the ability, they have access to various modalities that are effective for their unique situation. That means we don't have a one-size-fits-all protocol of what these kids need. That means some kids need to sleep. Some kids need intensive medical care. Some kids don't want to be touched. Some kids need a hug. So it's about meeting the child where they're at and doing things that are actually helpful, not just the thing we think will help them heal. That means there's not a religious requirement for every child. That means there's not a necessarily set structure, but it does mean we have very careful oversight, obviously vetting of every single staff and personnel and person involved. It means that we're able to help these children find peace, and that can start their path to healing.
To be normal again, even if they never were before. I mean, you're talking about like babies all the way up to, let's not forget, I mean, it's not any less terrible that a 12-year-old would have to go through this. I'm not saying that that's the same thing as a 2, but the fact that,
but
I mean, they're kids. I don't care what age they are. They could be 15. That's a kid.
Yeah, but you got to understand, the ones that do come out of it, they come out of it, man. They turn into superheroes. You just don't understand. If they have the right care, I don't. This is hard to talk about, but the fact that these children can wake up every morning, can try to be normal, can try to fit in, man, they're heroes. Just for existing, they are heroes.
Yeah, they could have packed it in, and when some people can say, hey, some people just die. They go away when they just don't want to live anymore. I actually never believed that until I got a little bit older, and then I kind of feel that it was a psychosomatic thing that could be that you shut down when you don't want to be anymore. That's
Absolutely.
sad, and every life counts. I don't care about any of that other crap. I don't do the politics part of it, but it's bull. It's about people. I mean, we're going to be gone one day, right? And let's say 100 years. Well, mine will be a lot sooner than that, but let's say in 100 years, none of us are going to be on this planet. It'll be them. Where are we going to leave them? Is it just another generation that's going to say, oh, okay, let me grab the baton and let me run with it now, and it'll go from billions to trillions and everything? I can't lie to you, either one of you. I'm glad that I'm not going to be here to see if something like that happens. I will not lie, because I can't even fathom the fact that anybody would think that this is okay. And by no call to act, like this is a call to action. We spoke about this before. But when you just sit there, what's the word that I'm looking for? Being like, I can't even think of it because I'm so annoyed right at this point.
About it.
Complacent, I guess you can say. Just the fact that that's just as bad in certain arenas, Oh,
it definitely makes them part of the problem.
Listen, here's what I'll guarantee.
Yeah.
I'm going to guarantee you guys something, that this issue will be eradicated in our lifetime.
I hope so, man.
I guarantee it will be eradicated in our lifetime.
I'm all for it. Anything that I can do. Someone, just real quick, somebody had called me, a few people, because obviously we have a different type of show and everything. It's, but when it's time to be serious, we talk about things that need to be spoken about. It's not all just like happy stuff and everything, because this is life. And that's why we don't do politics and religion, because politics and religion are in what? They're in life. Why? Because life is bigger. That's why it's in that and not the other way around. Simple
Yeah.
way to look at it. Life is bigger. That's the big picture. So someone said, well, you're a hero for talking. Several people, you're a hero for putting Kim Kelley and Philip Drake on there. And I got emails inundated with these things. They knew. I'm not a hero because I'm giving my time and my platform to a young lady like her and a young man like you to be able and say, look, this is what it is. Look here. I'm trying to show you what's going on. Please pay attention. You guys are heroes. Those little kids are heroes. The people that are watching the perimeter at these places are the heroes. Your time.
I'm not a hero. I'm just a father.
Well, as a parent, as a United States citizen, and someone that was born in this country and that's going to die in this country, that would be me. I commend you for it because it's not, and I don't say that lightly, people like you, and I've said this maybe a few times in the past, not too much. I've already told Kim that, and I'll tell you, it's people like yourself doing what you're doing. That is the best that the human spirit has to offer. I mean that. And that's the highest compliment you could give someone because it's not even your body. That's your soul. You are like angels to these people. Kim has been through it. She could have ran a different direction. I'm going to go heal. And no one would have blamed her. Nobody would have blamed her. She didn't. She did an about face. She did a 180. It came back and said, you know what? I'm going to make sure that this or whatever I could do is not going to happen to another person. And Phil, you're in there. I mean, you're doing battle. You could have been killed several times, I'm guessing. There's a reason why God watches over you guys. There is it now. Look, I've always said if God is watching over me, he's going to keep him pretty damn busy. And I'm sure you guys are keeping him busy. You know what? It's a good feeling, ain't it? No, and I want to see you smiling at it because I'm about to, I haven't drank in 12 years. I'm about to run down the street at this point, and you guys are killing me. No, I'm kidding.
We laugh and smile about it.
Yeah, well, look,
hey, it's okay.
What I'm smiling about is about what I'm fixing to say, and it's really nothing to smile about.
I thought it was your shorts were too tight. I thought that's kind of why you were grinning, but I know we're good. See, we need levity. See, and I'm perfect at that. But go ahead, please. See, I got on the left. Let's go ahead. Go ahead, Phil. See, thank you. My work here is done. Good night. No.
Since I started this, and then Kim came on, but since I started this and I resigned and I started speaking up, I've had 3 illegal arrests, accused of stuff I didn't do. When that didn't work, I was shot and tied to a tree. When that didn't work, I was poisoned, and here I am. And I'm like, is that the best you guys have got? Come on.
You sure you didn't grow up here in the New York, New Jersey area? Because that's kind of like if I didn't get my homework done, that shit would happen to me. No, I'm kidding.
Well, as you know, my family is originally from that area, so
I know that there's that link. I don't know.
Yeah.
And with Kim, I just like calling her Double K because I really don't, I stopped listening to her 20 minutes ago, but I just like looking at it. I'm kidding. I personally think that the fact that you have to actually tell people, but you're doing well. Do you get any? I know you're a long way from where you need to be. Do you get any satisfaction at all on a daily basis? Any satisfaction that you did something? Do you guys feel like that honestly, or do you feel like
when
you're
I get that call that the
kids
are rescued, that's very satisfying.
I would
when
think so, yeah.
I'm able to see a child healing or just learning to trust or learning to be present, that's satisfying. When I know that bad guys were taken down, that is satisfying. That's probably the most satisfying thing to me personally.
But they need to stay down. You need to keep it.
That's not my happy little lane. I just get the calls. But look, these good guys with their good guy skills, the public will never know. The public will never know how many children have been rescued by this man right here and how many traffickers have been taken care of by this man right here.
Like, hey, these traffickers, he looks like the Grim Reaper walking up on him and stuff. Hey, look, I wish I could be with you doing that shit. I would do it just to see the smile. I have a kid come over and say thank you. They don't even know. Just their look that they have. There's hope in their eyes. That's your thank you right there. That's what you can't put a price tag on that. Nothing. I would assume this. I've done similar things where I was thankful for it, but what you guys are doing, this is in real time. It's like you're trying to plug. Put your finger in the hole over here on the water's coming, and then another one's popping out, and another one's popping out. I don't know that would be frustrating for me, like I said earlier, but the fact that you guys are resilient and don't give up. I have that kind of fire in me too. I don't give up. I don't care. My last words will be if I have to be as I'm going down, but you are living that. You're not talking about what could be done. Let me write a book. Hi, I'm Kim Kelley. I'm going to write this book. No, I don't have time for that crap. You're out there doing stuff and raising money and doing whatever, and you have your nonprofit. I had it up on the screen. I'll bring it back. You guys are
We wish we were
co-founders.
raising money, but we're asking people to support, but not a lot of people are willing to.
Wow,
we suck
the
at
same
asking
kind,
money. We just spend our own. Together, her and I together has already spent right at $1 million out of our pocket.
Fighting evil ain't cheap, y'all.
No,
also, this
it's
facility,
not.
we have a business.
I can only imagine one setup cost.
We're very
3.9
transparent
million.
about the expenses and the numbers and things like that. Although we're funding it all ourselves, we've gotten a few donations from literally friends and family. We're very appreciative for that. But I'm just letting you know, we've gotten less than $10,000 in donations for sure.
Yeah,
Now,
well, that needs to change. I'm seeing right on the thing. It says 3.9 million annual operational cost of 4.2 million. We're reaching out to our kindred spirits to come together and make this sanctuary a reality. I like the way that's worded. Whoever put this together, by the way, the website itself and the other stuff that I read the other day, you know what I'm talking about? They took the time and they put thought behind it. It wasn't just, you could tell it wasn't just thrown together and copy and paste. So there was thought put behind that. I've read a lot of scripts, a lot of copy, a lot of art. And anyway, go ahead.
Right, there we go. He'll come back at some point. We meet a lot of people, and a lot of people are really interested in this topic. A lot of people want to hear the details. A lot of people have a lot of questions, and I appreciate that. And I'll run my mouth all day long and for hours at a time. But we meet very few people who are actually willing to help, who are actually here to do something about this, not just hear about it, not just be sensationalized by it and want to know about the gruesome details. We meet very few people that actually are willing to help. Now, I know for sure everyone can do something meaningful to different degrees, but for them personally, they can do something within their time and resources to help. Whether if they don't have a lot of time, they can make a small donation. It matters. They can get involved with their community. They can get involved with their kids. They can get involved in their local, state and federal politics. There's a lot of things that we the people can do. When we talk about this issue, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to unpack about it. But I say this often. The hard part is wrapping your mind around how bad this is and who's at fault, like unpacking the problem. That's hard to comprehend for a lot of people. The easy part is picking something you can do about it. Not one person can solve this entire problem, but if we, the people, were to stand together, put our differences aside about everything else about our lifestyle and beliefs, and just focused on how do we make an impact in this for children? How do we implement a zero tolerance policy? How do we stop supporting and funding these politicians that are corrupt as hell? How do we actually evoke action in our communities? Because we could make change. And even if we don't solve 100% of the problem, I promise you, solving 10% of the problem would matter. 50%, 75%.
No, we're solving 100%. That 100%, period. That's what we're going to solve. There is no 10%. It's going to be 100%.
Yeah, when you say no child left behind, you actually mean it.
I will curb stomp my way all the way there. I don't care.
And you have like-minded people that you're surrounding yourself with, I would assume, right?
We're the only like-minded ones, but it takes very
That's
few.
A blessing.
Let me say it this way. When I get done, every trafficker will be dead and every child will be safe. I don't know how to say it any plainer.
No, it doesn't get any plainer than that. That's that's as poignant, I guess, as somebody can be. Obviously, you got to have cojones to say that because there's going to be there's money involved and numbers and guns and this and card, and that's putting yourself in danger. And that's not something that I'm sure you worry about on a daily basis, but it's possible. But it's not the repercussions against you that you're worried about, or even Kim. It's the children. That's what you're worried about. The whole reason that you're doing what you're doing. I just feel that at some point I would go, well, I just saved or I helped save 50 kids. Meanwhile, it just happened with another 150 on the back end that you haven't gotten to. Like it's a not a non-winning, I shouldn't say, but those 50 kids are being replaced by 3 times.
We're plugging the
much.
dam, like you
That's
said.
frustrating, right? I mean,
But look, as long as we got people like you're helping us bring awareness, right?
of course,
You right now, you are saving children.
giving you a medium or a platform to do it because I believe in what you're doing. I like very much what you're trying to accomplish, and in the end, it's children that are going to be saved. Forget about me. It's because of you guys. Honestly, I mean that's I hold you both in very high regard, and I just wanted to let everybody hear that. I got no problem telling. I don't hold back. But you
Well,
guys,
I kind of
you're
like
fearless.
it.
You're fearless like I am, and it's good to be around people that actually give a crap about people and not about themselves.
Yeah, I got you, man.
Refreshing.
Yeah, it is
All right.
refreshing. There are very few of those instances. You know how many big, buff, tough-looking guys have told me, a petite female, "Oh my God, I don't know how you do that. That'd be so scary. I would be scared for my life. I have a family. I couldn't think about it. I don't know how you can think about it. I can't even imagine it." And here's the thing, y'all. As grown-ass adults, we don't get to stand in the corner and be scared of the dark. That is tormenting children. It is not an option for us to simply discount or ignore that scary thing that's too scary for us as grown adults. Like, let's do better. And
Just
here's
get your
the other
ass up
thing.
and cut on the light.
You'd
Yeah,
think,
let's,
I would think that a grown man would be too embarrassed to say that to my face, but you'd be surprised how many people have said that to my face and genuinely, like, I guess wanted me to feel sorry for them. I don't know. But as a society, is that even
Feel sorry for them,
acceptable? Right. Like, I guess I should console you. Here's the thing. Again, all of us can do something, for one, and for two, fear should not be an excuse. Fear should absolutely not be a justifiable reason that we don't want to solve this issue, because that means it's a choice people are making to not solve this issue.
Yeah,
That's not acceptable, y'all. We will
It's
be
a-
the generation who ends this. Very few people, whatever the percentage is going to be, very few people will actually join this fight in a meaningful way. A lot of people will be on the sidelines watching or hashtagging about it or trying to film it or whatever. Very few people will actually take action. But guess what? It's going to take a small but very effective percentage of us to actually solve this, and we will within our lifetime.
That's good to hear you talk. This is your call to action. Speaking of, real quick as we wrap up, we have to do final thoughts, but let's see what this
Actually step up
lady
and
had to
show
say.
up, especially if you're in a position of power and authority, elected leadership, etc., in the local, state, or federal communities, especially if you're some sort of religious leader, especially if you're trying to use this as a narrative to get whatever support or vote or income. You need to be leading this fight by example. And for God's sake, we need to stop voting for and supporting and making excuses for the elected officials who refuse to even talk about it. The ones with the power and the finances and the resources to do something about it, and who have intentionally not done something about it.
Right.
So
mean,
I
it's
know
not
for
even-
sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even that they did a crappy job and let's give them a second job. They haven't done anything. I mean,
Correct.
anything. Zero.
Correct.
Yeah. So, yeah, you look just like her. You're a spitting image.
Chick knows what she's talking about, kind of. Wish more people would use their little voice to speak up, because look, it's not about the books you've read or the things you've researched, or, you know, a lot of times people are like, well, what qualifies you to be here? What are your credentials and degree? And it's like, oh, honey, I wish the people reading the right books were the ones out here actually doing something. Unfortunately, I actually had to experience it. I didn't just get to read a book about it, but what qualifies me is that I'm a human being who cares about children, and I'm intolerant to people that are turning a blind eye to it. Now, I was one of those children that didn't have one safe adult. I'm here to pay it forward. I was never rescued. This is not about me. This is me fighting for the children. Why? Because I don't see y'all out here, but I am extending the olive branch, inviting everyone to join us and being part of the solution, because yes, this matters. And even if all you do is help one child, I am promising you that matters.
Very eloquently put there, Double K. I wanted to give some final thoughts. That's why we didn't go to commercial, because I didn't want to interrupt, and they're probably going to be mad that I didn't.
Did I miss the cue?
I don't really. Yeah, no, yeah. You saw that I did it for 20 minutes straight, and everybody was like, "Yeah." But anyway, yeah. No, I wasn't doing that. I got paid for that, but I just wanted to hear what they needed to hear you have to say. So,
Well, this time it wasn't my fault. I was quiet.
Yeah. Well, that's because you left the room, but they're going to give you final thoughts briefly. Phil, we'll start with you, and then we'll end up with Kim when we're done. What's the final thoughts for our audience here that are meeting you for the very first time? Lucky them. So go ahead.
Stop seeing truths for what you want them to be, and see truths for what they really are. We have to stop. We have to stop pretending that there's going to be some knight in shining armor, or in blue armor, red armor, or orange armor, that is going to show up and fix all of our problems. Because I'll guarantee you, not some of the time, but all of the time, they are the problem. And only we, the people, can fix this issue. And as I said before, I guarantee you in our lifetime, in this generation, that we will eradicate this problem. For sure in the United States, if not worldwide. Because I will not stop until it's fixed, till it's over.
Well, that's
Absolutely.
very, very well put, Phil. I honestly, in all seriousness, I appreciate that. It's not just the optics. It's, you got to open people's eyes. Sometimes you got to slap them, whatever it takes to get their attention. Because I think that the more people that are going to listen and watch this, whether you're on my show, or the other shows that you go, subsequent ones, it's important. And you said it right there. I will not give up. I will not stop. Relentless, resilient. These are great qualities to have, but you're not all talk, you're action too. If you're going to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk, and you, sir, are doing that. And I appreciate you being here and letting Americans know not only how you feel, but the fact of why your whole existence right now, for the most part, is about others and not about yourself. It's very selfless, and I appreciate that. Kim, wrap it up for us. Take us home.
All
What we
right.
got?
Well, I say this often, awareness is not just a feel-good term. Awareness reduces the predator's ability to operate. It makes it harder for bad guys to get away with doing bad things to children if we, the people, are willing to acknowledge it. And that also requires acceptance. That doesn't mean it's pretty. That doesn't mean it's okay. That doesn't mean we are justifying it. It means we have to stop pretending like it's something different. So like Philip said, it's not the truth you want it to be. It is the truth. You have to acknowledge that in order for your actions to be appropriate and effective. If we pretend like this is something different, we are never going to solve this problem. So my call to action for people is, first of all, be willing to be aware. And that requires acceptance. That requires that you rid yourself of the biases that prevent you from accepting the reality. I'm also asking people to take step 2, which is action. Step 1 is awareness. So we're acknowledging there's a problem. Step 2 is action. What can we do about it? Because all the gruesome details, all the things you could learn about this doesn't help unless you're willing to take that knowledge and do something with it. So we appreciate everyone who's willing to listen. And I'm challenging every person to pick one thing you can do that's helpful, that's meaningful. Doesn't mean voting. It doesn't mean, ignoring this problem or blaming the other party. Do something because we need you.
And it would also be nice if people could help us out with donations, because it's pretty tough. I don't like asking for it at all. But
it's up on the website, right? It's which we had there. Let's
This is the real work. There's a lot of people helping a lot of projects that are talking about it or filming it or pretending to do it. This is the actual work. We're not the fancy, shiny, big people that exist everywhere on the internet. We're the people doing the actual work, obviously not taking salaries because we're funding all of this out of our own pocket.
Right. It's 501c3, which means your books have to be wide open. So you're very transparent about everything. When you're nonprofit, there it is right there, 501c3, your tax ID number. It's all very transparent. There's nothing to hide here. And it's right smack dab in the middle. It's not hidden in the bottom or anything. So,
correct. Absolutely. Yeah. Y'all can look into us. Please do your research. Like I'm saying, there are a lot of nonprofits out there that are pretending to do something about this. I've researched a lot of them. I've interacted with a lot of them. We wouldn't have started this if it didn't need to happen because no one else was doing it. So This is a real operation, and it's a very expensive one, and we do need people to come together and actually support it, and we appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, and it's nice, and it's uniting America. That means bringing together. Once again, I'll read it. Igniting hope. Igniting. That's it right there. I'm not paraphrasing. I'm reading it verbatim. Igniting hope, inspiring action. You're not forcing anyone. You're inspiring them. They have to take the action. You can't do it for them. You could go on for hours and hours and days, but you have to inspire them. Some people need to be inspired. Others don't. But I think that if someone says, and I'm sitting in Nebraska or something somewhere, how can I help? You know what I mean? Or what can I do? Or how do I make other people aware? Like you said before, Kim, you said, just in their community alone, it starts out those small little baby steps can lead to something real big. You don't have to be like a crusader and go in like, balls to the wall, like Phil over here. We don't need that, but that's their way of being a superhero by helping children that they don't even know. Past, present, future. That's got to be a good feeling. And I have ideas that we will discuss off air that I've been thinking about and that I want to bring in someone on it. And I'll get your input on that later because I trust you guys to make the right decision on that stuff. But I'm trying to do what I can. And I really believe in what you're doing. You are a nonprofit. You don't take a paycheck for any of this stuff. I don't get paid, just so that people know, an absolute dime for having either one of you on, and you could tell them. I don't. I don't make 1 cent doing it.
It's media budget.
No, I haven't had a paycheck in 3 years. Seriously.
I believe that. I'm just saying, as far as people listening to this show, because you could go and tell different people, I'm letting them know it's not about me. It's about I'm taking my time to be able to make people aware. Like, I don't know these children, but it doesn't matter. It's just that they're children, and that is what your hearts. You gotta have heart to do that, and I can't say it unequivocally. I cannot say it any better than I have, or I should say the way that you guys put it, because you obviously care, and caring and loving what you do means that you're putting other people's needs ahead of your own. I mean, period.
In this case,
there's no other way to say it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to pretend like I'm, caring. All of us care about humans, but in my opinion, these children, not only are they innocent, not only are they children, which should be enough, but like, I don't see how people can choose to do nothing about this. For me, it's not optional whether or not we do something. For us, we've seen too much that we can't unsee. We must protect these children. It's not optional. Some
the
of
fact
these
that we're breathing, that means that we should do something. If we're here,
some of them have adopted children into their own families. Like, this is not about like, oh no, it's not something that we can ignore. I'm not sure how a lot of people can, but hopefully we're here to change that.
Well, you definitely both are. You're both superheroes in my eyes. So wanted to thank you very much. Philip Drake, Kim Kelley, that's PD and double K. Why? Because I don't have that kind of time. And I appreciate your time is as valuable as anyone else's, if not more. But we will do our best to get the word out. I made you that promise the first 20 seconds I met you guys. So in any event, I wanted to thank them. For those that are listening in on 88.6 FM WGAT right here on the Mean Machine Radio Show, I am Gregory Joseph. I wanted to say special thank you to our guests here today. Uniting America Inc.org. See, I said it right this time. I learned because Kim gets very mad at me. Anyway, thank you guys. I really appreciate it, and God bless you. And I'm sure he'll watch over you. And knowing you guys, especially the guy on the right hand side of it, they're going to keep him pretty busy. But that's pretty cool. Rock on, baby. So once again, there you have it, folks. That was Philip Drake and Kim Kelley. They are the co-founders of Uniting America, where, like I read it before, igniting hope and inspiring action. I know that they could still hear me. You can't see them because they're off the satellite feed here, but I just wanted to, on my own, I wanted to show you guys. I mean, this is powerful stuff, but it's good. Empowering communities for change. I've read all this stuff already. I had to go over it a couple of times. It's all right there. it's not real, it's not this, it's not that. Really? Who would take the time to go through all of this stuff, be survivors, people that are doing a call to action, make a whole website, have your 501c3 and your nonprofit and the stuff that they created, and their open books, and people giving their own time and their own money and their own effort, time in their life that they will never get back. That's why you thank people for their time, because you can't get that back. No matter how much money you have, no matter where you are, what your disposition is, can't get that back. Those are real heroes, like living, breathing heroes, not a guy that throws a football down the field and not someone made up with a red cape. These are heroes. And I mean that in every fiber of my being. Uniting America Inc.org. Check them out. Go on there. It doesn't matter how much you give. It matters that you care enough to do so. And you're helping a child that you'll never meet. How cool is that? Who doesn't want to do that? It doesn't have to be Christmas time. It could be any time, because